Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Winter, where you ask and we deliver. And my name is Fear Dragon. I actually have Mark Olbertz's jacket because I said I was feeling cold, so he gave me his jacket. I'm joined by In Control, who has not complained about the cold yet.
I don't. I'm a polar bear of sorts. I like it cold.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Do you like it cold?
No, actually. I think I like it a little bit warmer.
You're a warmer guy?
Yeah. You know, this isn't really doing it for me, though. Like, it's a nice gesture, but, you know, I feel like I need a scarf or something to, like, complete the ensemble. I think
It's not a scarf, though. What is it actually called? What are those things called?
What are... a scarf?
It's what Europeans wrap around their throat. It's not a scarf. It's a... No, it's not a shawl. Very American of you, though. Production's trying to help. It's like a pashmere or something.
Pashmere?
I feel like that's
You're
something
making
you
up
should know.
words.
No, I'm not.
You just picked the word cashmere and picked something that rhymed with it. I'm on to you, Jeff. You're here to mess with me this season.
I make a lot of stuff up, though. That's true.
I'm ready.
It's, you know, this time I wasn't, but it's fair enough.
But you know what you didn't make up is that there are some exciting StarCraft games coming on up as we are going to be moving into that winners match. It is going to be uThermal facing off versus Rail. And this, I'm pretty excited about this one because I do think that both of these guys really strong showing so far today.
Yeah. Rail, obviously more of a timing attack-oriented type of player. He's known for that. Big grinder on the ladder. He's done well in the ladder heroes, something that you helped put on. And I'm glad we came back to us at this moment in time so you can see the struggle of Ravi putting on his jacket.
Every day. My mom never taught me.
I mean, I feel like that's one of the ones that she sets her little beautiful duckling on the ground and says, and you're like, Mom, how do you put jackets on? She's like, no, you got that one on your own.
No, just
not this
never
time.
learned, never. I mean, she tried, but it didn't work. Yeah.
Okay, Ravi's mom, ladies and gentlemen, not a jacket teacher. We got uThermal versus Rail here, though. Like I was saying, the timing attacks of Rail, very lethal, but I feel like he's also well known for that. He's a big grinder. This is a guy that plays like, I mean, I don't want to pull a number. It's like 1,000 ladder games a season or something crazy like that. He's all over the ladder. He has no time for anything else. In fact, funny story, and I'm going to tell this story because when you just say stuff like this, it deserves to be told. So Verdi or Rail is a very big, prolific ladder player in that European scene, and Mr. Rotterdam, our favorite friendly commentator here as well, was at Home Story Cup with him, and he goes up to Rail and he says, Rail, hey, how you doing? How come you never GG when we play? And Rail looks at him, zero humor here, and says very matter-of-factly, Kevin, we play thousands of games. If I GG each time, you know how many GGs that is. It's so much. And Kevin's like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's too many GGs, too much time. So there you have it. I didn't think it possible, but Rail believes that if you play a lot of games and you spend that time typing GG, it's a waste of time.
I mean, if you spend 3 seconds typing a GG and you play 1,000 games a season,
ascot, thank you.
That is, huh?
It's an ascot, the scarf. Sorry, production help.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what did you just call me? Starting up here in the top
You're
right-hand corner
funny
of the
these
map.
days, Robbie. I like
Wow,
it.
thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, we have from Team Liquid, it is uThermal.
I think the hard part for Schloppy here is going to be that he's not going to face Colossus Phoenix. I cannot imagine that to be the case. Because this man up here in the top left-hand side, from Russia, with love, it's Rail. But not with GGs.
He does GG. He at least GGs in the tournament matches.
We'll see. If he's got time for it, I suppose it is possible. I love it, though. My favorite part, like the ethos behind the story and what I really enjoy, is that Kevin's good enough, this is Rotterdam, of course, to play against these guys. So he plays against them, and then he's also the kind of guy where if you don't GG him, he's not going to awkwardly not say anything to you. He's going to approach you and be like, yo, what's the deal? Because he's friendly with everyone. Rotterdam's one of the nicest guys you can encounter. But I also just like that Rail had this like prepared argument. He's like, I don't GG because I play a lot of StarCraft, and that's just
like, oh, thank you for asking me about that. Let me inform you.
Let me tell you why I don't do that. It's a funny thing.
Everyone has their own little quirks. I remember. Do you ever used to do anything weird like chat-wise?
So the weirdest that I am is I used to always start a game by saying GL, but then it would kind of, and I know a lot of people identify with this, if they didn't say it back, it kind of bothered me. So I realized I was putting myself out there and unfairly basically getting upset at people because I would say GL and maybe that's just not their thing or they didn't see it or whatever. And then I would be like, I don't like that guy. But why?
Yeah,
so I stopped doing that. And now if someone says GL to me or HF or whatever, I say GL back. And I found myself to be a happier StarCraft player. But I also think everything I just said is really weird.
No, I think everyone has their own little weird things. I remember before I discovered, I guess, Satan, and I decided to become like a cannon rusher that also mass DTs.
Your Lord and Savior Satan.
Yeah, I used to be a macro player, like only macro.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to specifically, before I made my first worker, before I would even send my workers to go mine, I would type GLHF. Because whenever someone does that, someone does a GLHF too fast, it used to be a thing. I was like, you're cheesing me. You don't have anything to do with the beginning of the game. Why are you saying that so fast?
I have one that's very similar to that. Because I leave games very quick, but I always GG, unless they're like some kind of jerk. But whenever they fit in a GG after I fit in a GG, like, because I go GG F10 and I'm out, like, really quick. But sometimes people are like, GG, like, at the same time. It really triggers me after the game. I'm like, oh my God, he knew! How dare you!
You were about to offensive GG me, weren't you?
No, I don't think that. It's just, I don't like how fast it is. It's really weird. But when you've been playing StarCraft as long as some of us have, it's like some weird things get in there.
Do want to note the Stargate, by the way.
Well, no, it is a Stargate, and then it's additional gateways is the interesting part here.
Okay.
Hidden behind, and it is Phoenix first. These Protosses today, loving the Phoenix.
This is also a nice map because as much as there is like this kind of weird, dark, I don't know, demonic.
Do you not know what that is?
It's Amon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in
a woman?
In a different meta, that could be Kerrigan.
That would be a woman, as you might say.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of Amon.
Oh, my God.
Ugh. I don't even feel bad because the esports StarCraft Twitter made a pun that was worse than mine, so.
Okay. There he goes. Flies by the giant dark space squid.
Wow, it's like looking at it.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if that was just...
Good luck!
It looks like the Phoenix are hyper prepared for this.
Are they, though? Would you call that hyper prepared?
It was so prepared that he knew that it would boost away and he didn't bother. Okay. That's how prepared he was.
Fair enough. Sometimes I'm that prepared myself. Actually, a lot of the times I just don't even react.
Yeah, exactly. The medevac is going to have to retreat back, and of course it did just have those...
Oh my God, he's Widow Mining dropping himself!
Wouldn't that be sick, actually?
They just indiscriminately killed
I mean, he basically did just Widow... Wait.
He did.
Hold on. If the Phoenix don't notice that, that will be enough Widow Mines to kill some of his own SCVs.
Well, I think it's the Phoenix that is more danger here. Yeah. Just the one, though. That's fine. And again, one Widow Mine just drops it down to very low health. You can back out of there.
There's a Robotics Bay coming on up. So, Rail...
I was wrong.
No, I don't blame you, though. I was about to actually defend you a little bit and say that Rail doesn't really play PvT, PvP, PvZ. He doesn't play Protoss exactly like other Protoss players.
Yeah.
He always has his own little weird quirks to whatever he does. So, I don't blame you. This is not normal we would see it. The other two Widow Mines finally go off.
Poor uThermal. He's going to just have a day of... I mean, not that poor, I guess, because he won the first series, but Phoenix Colossus is tough. It's kind of interesting that Rail goes back to this. And you know what? At the same time, I can see it because in Goblin's games, the Phoenix play in particular was very good, right? And uThermal's response in the 2 games that he won was to basically do a slow push. So if you kind of know that's coming and you feel like you can add your own spin to it, which in this case would be this faster third here, maybe that's the right answer, right? With the 3 base economy, we kind of talked about that too. Goblin kind of suffered from not really getting a 3rd base up. If with a 3rd base and you have that kind of economy, a bunch of Marines, a couple of tanks, that doesn't seem to be as scary, I don't think.
Yeah, there are a lot more Widow Mines this game, and while the Phoenix have not exactly been dying or at least too many of them, 2 of them have died. And if he doesn't actually have enough to lift up all those Widow Mines or engage, oh my God, or if he loses them like this, and this is where we start to see things really snowball.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's a weird part of this style, too, is that he just lost 2 Phoenix there, and as you pointed out earlier, he had lost 2 earlier, which is unexcellent. I'm going to say that's a word. So all of a sudden, this push does become very scary. Even though it is mostly Marines, and there is no tanks really anchoring this.
Oh, that's actually so clever. Makes it look like all the Widow Mines unburrowed. Gets a shot off. Doesn't actually kill too much. He just softens up a center. Kills a Zealot, but still nice.
Well, it was nice. Interesting thought there. Rail's going to get some time, though. He'll get the Thermal Lance upgrade finished here fairly soon, I do believe. And the push from uThermal is still just mostly bio. It's now, again, the 5 Widow Mines and some medevacs. So without the tanks, I'm not as impressed with this. But there is a second Colossus. Is it out? It has to have just come out, right?
Yeah, it just popped out.
Okay.
It's joined forces with the rest of the army. The Phoenix are slightly out of position over here, so the Widow Mines going to be able to burrow in position, makes it difficult for the Zealots to close the distance. And hey, uThermal starting to put some pressure on this third base, but having to back up Widow Mine. Oh my god, it didn't get the shot off. Almost did.
A little bit of missed micro on the Phoenix, so he really could have picked those guys up without losing anything, but he kind of misclicked there, and as such has found himself in a place where he's got just the 3 Phoenix. I do have to say, though, my gut check each time has been like when these guys, it's Goblin and now Rail, when they lose a bunch of Phoenix, I'm like, okay, well, surely they'll abandon the tech, right? Because like getting back to 5 or 6 Phoenix just doesn't seem that important at all, but they do. They reinforce, they build more. Rail's going to add double forge here, though, and this is something we didn't see from Goblin. I think Goblin might have built 2 forges in all of his 5 games it was, I believe. So I'm actually like maybe not even kidding.
Yeah, he didn't, besides the Colossus, he didn't exactly have that large of a ground force because he was so focused on that Phoenix production, like you said, to the point where he even got a second star at one of those games. But hey, we do have slightly faster than, I guess, Goblin doing this kind of mix, and the Disruptor is being added on, which I really do like. Especially versus uThermal, who is starting to add in those Marauders. We saw the kind of troubles that Marauders cause versus the Colossus. You're talking about how it's more difficult to make that work.
Well, even just Colossus Disruptor as a synergistic composition is really scary because ideally you get in on top of those Colossus with your Marauders if you don't have Vikings, which so far we've seen from uThermal, he's not going to do that. And that's exactly when the Disruptors can really punish you, right? If you're coming in and trying to target down Colossus, a couple of Disruptor shots can just absolutely annihilate those key units. It is going to be Liberators coming out here from uThermal, and I would say that's the more traditional answer, by the way. Liberators is good in general, but if they go Colossus, this can be especially problematic because, sure, they take a few shots from it, but every Colossus that goes down is like a gigantic portion of your production.
Yeah. I will actually want to say the Liberator choice makes a lot more sense in this situation than maybe the Goblin situation, just because the Goblin situation, we ended up seeing the Phoenix killing off so many medevacs that if you decide to make Liberators, you're not making those medevacs again. And in this game, Thermal's kept most of his medevacs alive. He doesn't really have to worry about reproducing them.
And a Ghost Academy too. So this is just uThermal giving his best impression of a normal, top-tier, non-Korean Terran. You can see the Phoenix, you can see them falling off, right? Like they get a lot of free shots in on that Liberator, but it still actually has a decent amount of health. And that's why I'm a little bit poo-pooing. Oh, wow.
That was aggressive.
That's a little bit too aggressive. I mean, this is a classic move, right? If you can do that and then you had a Liberators choke up the ramp, then you actually just win the game because they can't get back up the base.
This gets a little bit dangerous, though. He's still got one of those medevacs fully loaded, has the rest of the Bioforces unloaded. The Liberators resieging the last second. Thankfully, I think Blink is not finished. Yeah, Blink is about to finish, but it wasn't finished in time.
It's a lot of effort to kill a Gateway, by the way. He's like threatening this drop, but it's been spotted for ages, and now he's just kind of sitting here, and he's clamped in a little bit by the army of Rail.
His reinforcements are also going to be cut off, so he's going to rally those forward. I wonder if he's just going to try and pincer down on the south side while trying to force a lot more units in the main.
I'm very curious as to the plan here of uThermal.
Oh my god. Okay, well, we're doing this. The Liberators siege on up. The medevacs all managed to unload successfully. At the same time, uThermal is going to be canceling that bottom left-hand base. This is actually going quite well for him in a lot of ways.
It is, and it feels like it shouldn't have, right? Like the Liberators get there first. They're being shot at by the Phoenix. They're being shot at by the Stalkers. The drops on top of the army. But you know what? This is all fine, Ravi. It's the fact that he's killing the 4th base, and I feel like it looks like that force is coming up to reinforce. It might even be flanking here.
Yeah, it's going to be coming in from behind. Secures the kill on the Colossus. The War Prism's here, but I don't think it's going to matter. As Rail loses his entire army and lost that 4th base, uThermal getting up his own 4th. The War Prism doesn't look like it's actually going to go down, and Rail finally moves back from the main base to the front lines. Liberators siege up. Well, this is actually getting a little bit closer.
Is it?
Okay, no, never mind. Reinforcements come in, and the Disruptor shot whiffs. Well, is it though?
Ravi, let me explain something to you about Protoss. If you lose all of your gas units and you're reinforcing with Zealots and Stalkers against an army of Terrans that's on 3 or 4 bases? 4? You're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead, my friend.
That is probably the case. He's gonna try and reproduce the Colossus now, but like you said.
Now I picture like fancy booted Colossus.
Wait, why is it fancy?
Because they have like galoshes, right?
I feel like there's a pun that I'm missing here. Oh, it's making me really sad.
Wouldn't be the first, I suppose.
That is very true. 2-2 finished up though for Rail. That is one thing he has going on his side.
Yeah.
That's the one way that I think gateway units can be a little more effective is if they're ahead on all those upgrades.
uThermal strangely not upgrading at all. That's a pretty big mistake on his part.
Armory, I think Armory just got started up, so that's why.
It's a big mistake. He's very much so ahead, but to your point, 2-2 and now 3-3 queued up here. There's going to be a chunk of time where he's going to have a 4 upgrade advantage if we get to that stage of the game. And 4 upgrades are a big, big deal. So yes, Stalkers and Zealots and backed by Immortals or whatever else, they can do some work in that situation.
Yeah, Armory finished up. There's going to be 2-2 finally starting on up. But if you include the fact that Protoss has Chrono Boost, that means he can get even further ahead in those upgrades, and that's exactly what he's going to be doing. So that kind of window you were talking about where he's 4 upgrades ahead of his opponent is going to be even larger with that.
It's going to be like a real big window. You know, the kind that you could move a couch in through if you needed to.
It's going to be one of those windows in like the new age apartments where just it
so
looks like an entire wall.
They're so nice.
Yep.
Up in our palaces in America.
Is that what we call them?
Yeah.
Not in California.
Okay, 4th base spotted is not saturated. It's good news for uThermal. He's going to move over here to try and, I was going to say kill it, but he's actually making his way to the 3rd base, and why not? He's got these ghosts. There's no Templar, but still the EMP will be nice, of course.
Picks up the Immortal, gets out of there, is able to survive for a little bit longer. The Colossus doing some good damage. Only half the army actually engaging from that angle, though.
A little bit of an awkward fight. He was getting hit from some Colossus up on the high ground, so and he was kind of falling out of a concave, if you will, as well. Gonna back up here.
Yeah, but that was kind of his window to hit before 3-3 finished up. So now 3-3 about 10 seconds away from finishing. Looks like Rail can just pull back, wait for that, and then he will be in a really, really nice spot.
Do we have Liberator range?
I don't think he ever got a fusion core.
No.
And I don't see, in this massive swell of Terran buildings, I don't see a fusion core. Do reactors not show up as separate or the same building? It doesn't just say 3 reactors? I never noticed that.
Interesting.
Okay.
It's a glitch in the Matrix for sure. uThermal. So now we do have 3-3, and this is that period of time where the Protoss is just vastly out upgrading the Terran, but you can see the 2-2 is nearing completion with the Terran as well. Wow, this fight.
Oh my god, okay, well just dodging out the Disruptor shot, killing that off very quickly, and only half the army being there was really nice.
God, the
EMPs kind of cover the entire army. The north side is still getting something done with that one Colossus. The Colossus in the back on the south side also getting a lot done. The AoE splash damage destroys the army of uThermal.
And that was all upgrades, by the way. You never see a Terran army stim like that, pick off a couple of Disruptors essentially for free, chase off Stalkers, and then get flanked by an underwhelming reinforcement army for Rail, but then the Protoss wins the fight. It's a 4 upgrade advantage for the majority of that fight. Did finish, so it's been dampened here a little bit. And Rail's going to push, but the real damage dealers here is the 2 Colossus and 1 Disruptor. I don't know if it's enough.
Okay, we're going to see uThermal try to stim forward the snipe up on the Disruptor. Like you said, not really being able to land there. It looks like it's going to be very, very close, but the Marauders kind of starting to die now.
Yeah, the Colossus hanging in the back there. There's nothing going after them. There's no Liberators here. If you look at the production tab, he's not making more Liberators. So a pure Bioforce, it can get it done, but if you just never get to the Colossus, maybe not.
Yeah. No Observer here, so the Widowmines can maybe get something done occasionally, but it's not like this is a massive charge lot army. This is Stalkers with Blink and a bunch of Sentries in the Colossus. These all outrange the Widowmines. It's really just hoping that they walk into them.
Yep. Still adding some Disruptors. They're going to kind of make their way over here. There is that Observer, so we should be able to kind of fight back against these Widowmines. There we go.
That's going to hurt uThermal's chances a lot. uThermal maybe situating himself with an army of the natural and an army at the 3rd base.
I hate the Liberator spot, by the way. I just have to say. What are they doing there?
Yeah, he's not actually protecting a whole lot. He is barely getting a couple hits off, but SCV's being pulled off the line. Coming back.
Very precarious. A lot of sentries there, but not a lot of energy. So these couple of force fields, there's going to be about another volley of it, and then that'll be it. But another Disruptor kind of makes its way over here.
Does he have another ghost? EMP the sentries or something?
Making one right now.
Okay. He's got one now.
It's a planter. Can't fight that. Where is he going to go? Heading up into the natural. He blinks underneath the Liberators.
That's the EMP. All the sentries lose their energy, so suddenly
God.
army can come down. But this is just, it doesn't feel like that large of an army right now. Moving through choke points.
It is. Coming down the ramp, though, one of the Colossus is getting targeted and does die. But to your point, going down the ramp, pretty dangerous tactic here. And now the Colossus finds its way to the back lines again. Both players thinning out. They're just about equal in supply. Almost dead even. Workers very similar here as well. And uThermal had to fight with a supply advantage just to get to here.
This has become a really, really dicey game for both of these players because Rail is still technically down a base right now, but he's been able to kill off a handful of these workers. He's been able to pick away at that army. And like you said, the army replenishment for uThermal is not the super high value units like Liberators, I think. It's just Marines and Marauders.
Yep. Colossus count down to 1, though, right? And Mortals coming across. It's just the 1 disruptor. It's kind of a deceiving factor here, and the upgrade advantage is again, slipping away. 3 attack is nearing completion for a Terran player. Pretty uninspired shots with Disruptor. I mean, that was nice, but it was like the best one we've had so far.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, Rail managed to continue to have a supply advantage. But with all these planetaries and all these bases being mined, it's got to do something here.
Do you feel like he could, I mean, just because he's pinned uThermal all the way back up these ramps, he could just dart down south and actually do some damage? I don't even know if he's... Oh, you just never scouted it.
Yeah, he just doesn't know.
Sensor tower is going to get taken out. That actually is pretty nice because that does limit uThermal's information about where to position his army, when to jump onto the army if he starts to overcommit. Drop actually getting loaded on up. Maybe just going to the third base, steal Zealot. Yeah, it looks like that.
Kind of interesting, more effort's not being put into killing that base, though, right? He knows the army's in the natural in the third. Okay, good. So he's going to finally do this. I was like, this base is living on borrowed time. He is just going to put a couple of... He pulls them.
Okay. Right. SCVs are being pulled off the line. Remember, there's only 1 Colossus, so not that much splash damage. 360 surround right now coming forward with the SCVs on the north, even from that other base. But it looks like uThermal has bled off a few too many units. The Protoss army stands strong. Well, Stalkers blink out of the way to snipe off those medevacs, and it looks like uThermal is going to be able to finally be pushed back. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure Rail has got this, but like this, oh my god.
You're such a hero for trying.
I'm like, you know what, uThermal, okay? But he's down to 15 workers.
He's dead.
He's pretty dead right now. There it is.
Wow, what a bloody grind of a game back and forth. And at the end of the day, it was Rail, and I want to draw attention to this because it seemed silly that he wasn't killing that orbital base. And I still do think he probably should have thrown like 3 or 4 Zealots in it. But, and I love this, he knew that if he anchors down between the natural and the third and never lets those armies join up and just constantly force fields ramps and takes favorable fights in that way, that was going to be his path to success and to win. And it looked a little silly at times, but he was so clearly kind of committed to that it worked. Great play by him. He takes out uThermal in that first game, and it was looking like uThermal had a pretty good win for a lot of that, but Rail marches it back.
Absolutely, and this is a really, really nice win for Rail, just because Rail, he's beaten uThermal once in a tournament back in 2012.
Oh wow.
And after that, he's lost every single other time they face off against each other. The other 9 times, uThermal has come out on top, never dropping more than a single game to 5s. So if he's able to take this, that would finally put an end to that that 9-1 series score that they have against each other.
Finally put an end to it.
Yeah.
That's what we were really doing here. Hello, everyone in the Twitch chat. Thank you guys for joining us. We are kicking off 2019 with a wonderful WCS winner. It's been really nice. We've got some great games coming up later today as well with the North Americas games.
Yeah,
Special,
all of them.
Neeb, M. Canning, the greatest player that we have. Pretty good. And Eric.
Eric's great too.
Eric's great too. Eric's a good guy.
No, Americas is going to be a lot of fun. And like you said, a lot of different regions being represented there. Recently learned that us. Tudming, yeah.
Oh, I said Neeb. It's not Neeb.
Yeah.
My bad. No, not Neeb today. No, Tudming from China, Special from Mexico, M. Canning from the moon base that America is secretly building for our Space Force, and then who am I forgetting?
Tudming.
Oh, I said Tudming. China.
Eric?
Eric.
Yeah.
Brazilian.
Brazilian.
Bet you didn't expect me to know that, did you? But I do.
Huh? Eric, actually, I would say, like, there's that hierarchy in Copa America or like a lot of the Latin American scene where it's like Special, Kelazur, Cham, and then a gap. Eric is the closest person to bridging that gap in the Latin American scene.
Wow.
So it's cool. It's cool to see him kind of making a run right now.
But he is the untouchable cast. Is that what you're saying? He was born into poverty, and he's down there. And is that what you're
So we're getting ready to jump into the game. The next map is going to be Port Alexander.
Good. That's exactly where I want us to go.
So I know I also wasn't expecting to see necessarily that kind of Phoenix Colossus style coming out from Rail in that game.
By the way.
Oh, yeah, we're watching a replay right now. You guys can't see it.
Robbie's like, and it looks like uThermal.
Well, I thought he was gonna tap out there. I was gonna say, and it looks like uThermal is gonna leave.
Yeah. It was a cool fight. It was like a fight that lasted 10 minutes the whole game. Very cool.
We've had some as crazy long as some of these games have gone, and sometimes players have been very far behind for a lot of those games. We've had a lot of cool moments and cool like fights.
Yes,
and
we
stuff
have
today.
Yes, we have. And we are in the game. So let's get off the screen of these two handsome blokes, as they say in the Queen's country, and get inside the battle nets. In the top left-hand side, needing to claw his way back in this winter match from Amsterdam, it's uThermal. Roddy would be quick to correct me that Amsterdam is the name of the entire country of the Netherlands.
That's what I heard.
Yep.
Starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Protoss player from Team Jira. It is Rail. It's in a 1-0. What team is that? Jira. Gira?
I don't know. Here we go.
All right. We got a Proxy. Oh, Proxy that gets immediately spotted.
Insta GG. What
no,
if
no,
he did, though?
he
That's
doesn't.
cool.
He doesn't GG.
That hurts so bad, man. No, not Rail GGing. That'd be uThermal.
Oh no, uThermal didn't GG last game.
Did he not?
He didn't.
Did he not?
He's taken a page out of Rail's book.
Should we
He's like,
check
you know
his
what?
Twitter?
You know what? That sounded like some pretty solid advice. Heard what Roddy said.
uThermal, by the way, one of my favorite like balance complainers, because he says all of it with a huge smile on his face, but he's actually seething inside. They call him. He's called Angry Mark, I believe.
He used to. Okay, that's because
One of his
he
nicknames
used
is
to
Angry
be a.
Mark.
He used to be a rager. He's not anymore.
Once, you know what? Once a rager, always a rager, man. I'm telling you right now. They might smile. They might say it quietly to themselves or in a Discord channel somewhere else, but they're raging. I promise you that.
Okay, well, Engineer Bay block coming down just to try and delay that natural. Funny enough, though, it is not exactly going to be a super fast Nexus over here, or sorry, a super fast command center from uThermal. So is Rail still going to commit to his own Nexus?
Is he though?
We got the double gas, continue to mine, got the factory coming on up, and there it is finally going to be that Nexus.
Commit to the Nexus. I like that. I feel like that's just being a caster to be a caster, right? Commit to the Nexus.
Commit to the Nexus?
What does that mean? Or are you saying that like
That's
after he builds,
a
he's
Nexus
like, I'm
is
gonna
a-
let this finish?
A Nexus is a long-term relationship, man.
It is.
You're making a 400 mineral commitment.
It's a big one.
Rings don't cost that much.
Well, it depends on how much mineral is, I suppose.
Probably a lot, right? Because if you consider inflation, then a mineral in the future would be worth a lot now.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd take that somewhere interesting, Rubby. You didn't. You were that bus driver by yourself on the street corner, like the door flops open, you're like, mineral inflation, right? Am I right? Like, you know, I'll take the next one. You're like, okay, have a great day. Drive off.
That is an accurate depiction. All right, well, Reaper comes on in, just barely misses the scouting of the Twilight Council, gets thrown down by Rail.
Yeah,
as it's
commits
on
to a
the way
Twilight
out.
Council here.
Not as big of a commitment.
Sorry,
That's
I'll let
really-
it go. I'll let it go.
That's okay.
All right. 2 stalkers are shown, though. What do we think uThermal thinks when he sees 2 stalkers? Does that change his mind?
I mean, he's still going to have like that sort of barracks factory set up before the command center. He's still going to have that delayed stuff, so.
Yeah.
Change his mind about what?
Well, I mean, change his mind is, I guess, the wrong way to word it. I just more mean, does that tell him something? Does he think that
yeah.
there's a proxy Stargate? Does he think there's DTs coming? I don't think so.
Okay.
Charge slot. Ooh, baby. That's different.
Charge slot's coming out. He's still mining gas in the main base. I know that there are some kind of cheeky all-ins. So you pull off the gas geyser after you get your robo up. You get up that warp prism, and you say, let's make as many zealots as possible. Oh, actually, you know what? I have seen Rail go for this build or this style before. He likes to do that same kind of charge lot attack, but he also gets up like 6 or 7 sentries and goes for it.
Okay.
So that's why he leaves some workers still in gas.
Okay. Interesting. A lot of Terrans, if they add a 3rd command center in that time or are going for something more tech-oriented, like Cloaked Banshees or a tank or two, they can get overwhelmed.
Yeah. So far, though, uThermal is just adding on his starport finally. He's getting up additional barracks, getting up Stim. And Stim, I believe, should be finished up before this hits, because you still want to be able to wait for not only...
You think so, Ravi?
I think so, because you still waited for the Warp Prism, right?
Yeah, well, let's take a look. Stim's about...
It's like a halfway it's more than halfway finished.
Is it about 15 seconds away from finishing?
The Warp Prism isn't going to take 15 seconds, Jeff. Come on.
Well, I think you'll find that the time between Stim finishing and the attack hitting is going to be quite significant. Especially since the robotic spray and blink go down at double gases.
Okay, there. So as I said, this is not going to be the build I was talking about. I get so excited because I just saw Rail do that build like a week ago.
Hold on for Stim here. Hang on. Here it comes.
All right. Blink going to be coming on up.
In your defense, though, it's a weird way that Rail's doing this. Like, he goes charge first, right? And does nothing with it. Nothing at all. Follows it up with Blink, which makes sense if you're going to go Colossus. But then he's going Colossus after opening up charge.
You think it's going to still be Colossus in this situation?
I mean, it could be Disruptor. But based off of what we've seen, it's probably Colossus, right?
Yeah, I think so. We'll see.
It's the moment of truth right here.
Robotics facility.
To build something.
Oh yeah, it's Colossus. Queued on up.
Yep.
There's Thermalance. Okay. So we have seen that well, I was going to talk about like Vikings and how uThermal responds to Colossus, but all a bit of a moot point is he is going to be making the big push out right now. Rail still does not have a 3rd base, so this is just kind of about defending that natural expansion. And the first Colossus is not even out yet.
This is so bad for Rail. He's got charge, but he has like 5 zealots. He doesn't have Blink. He doesn't have Colossus. He kind of went everything, and he just kind of went everything in a weird order.
Oh boy, Immortal Hardened Shields is already set off. The Immortal has already lost most of its shields. The shield battery is not really finishing up. One of them might, but I don't even know if it's actually going to be able to get too much use. It heals up a few units. The SCVs being pulled off the line is pretty big. I like that Rail tries to sneak off and snipe off a siege tank, but he doesn't actually successfully get it, so all he's kind of done is, I guess, spot himself a few extra seconds of time, because now the siege tank is just in position. The rest of the gateway units aren't.
Yep, and here comes the big attack, and I do not think it's going to be that big of an attack. Rail hitting from 2 sides, but hitting like the softest of pillows. Quietly goes down to the dirt nap that is brought to him by Mr. uThermal from Amsterdam, the red light district. He could live there.
Yeah, tied up 1-1. It does seem like we're getting ready to move into a game number 3 then. That's exciting. Especially since I know that Rail had a really dominating performance in that kind of first 2-0 versus Bly, just kind of nipping him in the bud before he can really get up to that sort of Swarmos thing he was talking about. uThermal had a bit more of a close series, but it's cool to see that these guys, I mean, that last game, let's be honest, it wasn't super close, but...
No, it was not. It was more... It was interesting, too, because Rail, to me, is such a design player. Like, you weren't wrong when you were talking about the Sentries Zealot all-in. I was kind of looking for what he might have scouted that would take him out of that build, but I don't think there was much. So sometimes these players, they have a game plan, but then they kind of diverge for whatever reason, or they get away from it, and they kind of overthink things. That game, to me, was Rail overthinking things. It was like, it's not like he lost because he upgraded charge. It's 100-100. It's a fast upgrade. That's not that big of a deal. But the army that he had was kind of 3 sentries, kind of 4 stalkers, kind of 5 zealots. You need something much more substantial, obviously, if he would have been chrono boosting out Immortals, something. Anyways, not to spend too much time on that game. But it does mean uThermal is able to tie it up and we go to game 3, which is pretty cool.
All right, remember that this is the decider match of the group in terms of the winners match, so it decides who is going to be moving on to the round robin phase of WCS Winter. And of course, that unlocks a lot more money, that unlocks a bunch more opportunities, and gets pretty close to guaranteeing you. I mean, I think you have to do pretty poorly in the round robin to not make it to the playoffs or something around that area, just because of how the playoffs are set up.
I'll take your word for it. I'm just here to meme and.
Oh, sorry. Going to the second group stage. Sorry, not round robin yet. Should be fun. All right, well, we're waiting for that game invite to see what map we're going to for game number 3. But, Jeff, is there anything you want to see different? I won't say from Rail, because Rail is just his own beast. Is there anything you want to see, like, different from uThermal from that first game?
Yeah. Close it out. He's the best player in this group. He is the best Terran in Europe, and it's been a little bit kind of close, right? The Goblin series was pretty close. It was a little bit weird. Rail had we're having a close series here as well. Show us something impressive. I want to see uThermal start off 2019 with the big first place in the group, beating some players that he should beat, and making his way further into the tournament.
Yeah. I guess we kind of saw uThermal attempt to do some of the new stuff, trying to make use of those Thors and doing things like that, but none of them have really worked, and it seems like the standard solid play has actually worked better than anything else.
I feel like every time he's gotten cute in these games, it's been to his own detriment. And then every time he's like, all right, Liberators and Bio, it's been pretty good. Which I know is ironic, because the one game he went pure Liberators and Bio, he actually lost. But he's just, he's good with his push, I guess we can boil it down to even. It's not even like his basic play. It's just literally this push has established his win in all the other games he's won. Yeah. All right. So is there someone on a bathroom break? Is that what you said?
I didn't hear that.
You didn't say it? Oh, just taking a long time to get this game started.
Well, finally got the invite. It looks like we're going to Automaton. Nice, very wide open map. That actually might, we think about all the like siege tank pushes that uThermal keeps going for. That is kind of a nicer map to like try and catch the siege tanks and less of choke points and stuff. Your Zealots can get some nice surface area.
Yeah. If I had to guess, uThermal's going to come right back to that marine tank push. I mean, this was the most committed one, other than I think he didn't even bring this many SCVs in the blockade game, because this is like most of his, not even most, but half his SCVs or whatever. It's a lot. It's an all-in, but it's at the right time.
All right, Automaton is getting loaded on up. Ladies and gentlemen, game number 3 of our winners match to find out who is going to be knocked down to that decider match and have to play for a second chance to make it out of the group, and who is going to be able to move on right here, right now. Those eyes of Rail, man. Piercing.
Yeah, he's got a look there. What do you think they told him for that picture? What's the word you would use? Not cheese, right?
I think it's like, you know, you have the photographer that's just like, look like you're going to kill somebody.
Yeah. Don't need to tell him that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving into game number 3. Starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, it is our blue Terran player from Team Liquid. It's uThermal.
Had a great 2018. Looking to continue that in 2019 here. The top right-hand side, kind of a newcomer a little bit. He's been in some Challenger, I think, but maybe not too far into the tournaments. It's the Russian Protoss Rail. 25 years young, this guy.
Been around for a long time. I feel like Verdi has just been one of those names that's been around the scene for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. Always streamed. Sometimes commentated, if I remember correctly, as well.
Really?
I think so. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. So far, he is just going. He's going for the second pylon way on the other side of the map, and I think I may be misseeing the timing of that pylon, but did he get a second pylon before his first gas geyser?
I did not see that part, but I believe this will be a gateway and cybernetics core over there. Actually, it's 2 gateways. Well, it's a second gateway, excuse me.
Yeah. But he's got to get the cybernetics core down, right? Like, there's not a single zealot gateway proxy all-in or anything, right?
No.
Okay, well, there's going to be one zealot coming in from this side of the map, so it's not on the other side because that gateway is, of course, still building. There's
I bet it's timed out, so this zealot gets out with a stalker, and then it's joined by 2 additional stalkers. Like, it's probably a pretty quick hitter. And I did not pay enough attention to see if uThermal had been SCV scouting. I don't think he has been.
I don't think so, no. Not in any of the games, at least, that we've seen so far.
Which means this is a pretty cool read by Rail.
We'll see how things work out. The first Reaper is, of course, going to make its way all the way across the map and run into... Well, okay, the Zealot is going to take a more roundabout pathway.
Yeah.
So it's going to be able to avoid that Reaper. It's not going to have to buy any time. Like you said, Stalker going to be coming out from the main base as well as that natural expansion. I think the Stalker, the main, should be able to catch the Reaper.
Oh, yeah. Much like Stim the game before, it will not be close. Unless this happens.
I don't know, Jeff looked pretty close.
It's pretty close now.
Ooh, gonna be able to kill off one probe immediately without really taking too much damage. The Stalker turns around, the Zealot and the others, or sorry, the probe and the Stalker are doing some damage on the other side of the map. That's good.
Yep. And we'll have to see what he does at that ramp as well, because if he's able to jump on top of... Oh.
That SCV build in the factory is sometimes going in range of the Stalker, but it does complete the factory in time.
Ooh.
That is a big boon.
Tech Lab, though?
He's trying to go for siege tanks?
No, maybe Cyclone.
Or Cyclone? Yeah,
It'll
sorry.
be a Cyclone, but that is ambitious. I mean, I guess a Hellion doesn't super help here. A Widowmine's a little bit of a liability. He's going to take some damage, though.
Reaper is moving its way all the way back across the map as we end up seeing a Marine taking some damage from those Stalkers. There's no bunkers or anything for these Marines to retreat back to. Zealot finally goes down, so that's a lot of the damage output on the actual supply depot and the reactor coming down. Probe is actually still here, funny enough.
Yeah. A little bit sloppy to lose that Zealot. I don't think it's the difference between like a win and a loss here. Cyclone is actually it's a tank, excuse me, it's a tank that's going to pop out. And that will shut this down. There will be nothing more to continue after that.
All right, supply depot's starting to burn down. He's going to send some SCVs to repair that. The command center, of course, did get canceled from the low ground, so we get restarted back up in the main base. And there is that Twilight Council coming down for Rail, and I believe the Reaper did survive. He's trying to get some more scouting information. Oh my god, that was actually really big.
Grenade.
Well, now we can see that there's no natural and see that it's still just going to be a one-base all-in, which is not what I think uThermal would have otherwise expected.
No. And this does take the game to weird territory, so I kind of like it, by the way, for Rail. I like that if you're going to game 3, get things stressful, make them weird.
Damage output is not high enough. And there it is. Sees no natural. Doesn't know exactly what the follow-up is, but after seeing so many Stalkers, you think it's like maybe a decent guess could be up against Blink?
Well, did he see so many Stalkers?
I guess he saw 2 or 3.
He saw 2 or 3,
yeah.
But that was also off of like a 2-gate thing, so I don't necessarily think you look at that and say, I think he's going to go Blink. And he only saw the one Stalker across the map, which could have been one of like the original ones returning. So I don't think he knows just yet, but to your point, Ravi, it definitely has got to be one of the things he's thinking is possible.
Yeah. Luckily, he did, even before actually scouting out no natural, already start up that siege tank production. Has a second one now finished up, has a bunker up because he knows that there's going to be some potential for aggression. He can just make SCVs from his main base. He's got the double mules. He can survive for a bit like this.
He can, but this is kind of the funny thing. Rail's really good, but I think a player like uThermal would look at him and say, I'm the better player. You know, if I play really, really safe, I should win from here. But the kind of interesting thing is that a lot of these players have gotten to a level where if you play too safe, it goes from being the right call to absolutely the wrong call. I don't know where that line is here. I'm just saying that uThermal needs to be careful not to play too safe against a player like Rail.
Yeah, he's going to finally start moving down to establish that natural expansion. And exactly what you were saying, Rail did grab his own Nexus well before this natural expansion was finally established over here and secured for uThermal. uThermal moved in with a Viking earlier, did some probe damage, but I would say most importantly, scouted out Robotics Bay and said, like, okay, cool, you're actually teching out. I know what you're doing.
Oh, wow. This is nice. Getting a Terran to have to move back and forth against Smiths to be killed like that, very nice.
Oh, and these Marines do not fare too well versus Stalkers. The Cyclone helps out a lot, so do the Siege Tanks, but without Stim or Combat Shields, the Blink Stalkers really can do quite a bit of damage to those Marines.
Yep. The kind of nice thing here, too, is now uThermal has in the back of his mind that Rail is threatening to blink in and do that kind of damage, so it gets you to stay back a little bit, makes you wary of going out with medevacs, and then all of a sudden a Pros player can sneak in a third or get some double forges going. All those kind of things become much more viable when you're not in danger of being attacked.
Okay, I'm not sure if Rail is just lacking on gas right now because he hasn't taken the gas at natural, but still not starting up a second Colossus. I think it's just the gas because he started up Thermal Lance and Charge.
You're right.
But, you know, getting up that Colossus count as soon as possible is definitely a big part of his game plan. So, all right, finally starts up that second Colossus. uThermal still in its siege tank production though, and that is going to sort of, it oftentimes forces the Terran player into just going for that big attack though, right?
And I do think you're right. Well, as we say it, there's actually a command center being built.
Oh man, that's actually, okay. Command center finishes up, I guess. For a second, not a bad one though.
All right. No upgrades queued up for him. But that's okay, because there's no upgrades queued up for the Protoss player either. Both players kind of getting away from that.
Very weird game. I like that well, I guess uThermal should know that there's an observer there now. Got to reposition some of his army. He's actually just expecting that the Stalkers will blink out of there.
Yep. They're going to spot and say, it is just the one tank. How bold do I want to be? Not that bold.
Yeah, get out of there. There's a scan, observer getting sniped off. It's going to shut down those Stalkers for a good bit of time. The kind of proxy warp gate may come in handy if he tries to go for that big attack soon, as he's now making Immortals instead of the Colossus, so with that and charge?
Yep, no upgrades, no third Nexus. In fact, at the natural, he's only mining one of the gases, right?
Yeah. 2 guys on gas. Not even
there's the forge. Like, so maybe
I
feel like it was at least going to be that all in you're starting to describe. If he has the pylon and gateway, without it, it looks like he's kind of considering elsewhere.
Yeah, for now it looks like he's just going to continue to poke forward with the Stalkers, get some scouting information, sees at the siege. I guess the big thing is you see all the siege tanks are still siege up in the main. So you say, okay, you're still at home. I have some time. Does he have? Yes, he is super prepared in his main. Doesn't have a lot of anti-air, but he should be able to deal with any kind of units that drop out of those medevacs.
Yeah, it's not that he can deal with them. It's, to me, more can he punish it, right? So, like, having the army there is fine, but ideally you pick off the medevacs. I don't think he has enough Stalkers for that, but...
Yeah. Well, a few of these Stalkers do have blinks, so if focus fire is down and uThermal's a little bit slow, but no, that's not going to happen.
Speeds away. uThermal avoids tragedy. Now he's going to take his third, as is Rail, by the way. So it's kind of hard to commentate a Rail game, because it does feel like he's always poised to go in for that all-in, but he just kind of bails out of it pretty quick.
Oh, nice step off on that medevac. Blink is on cooldown for a few more seconds. The Stim Bio trying to find an opportunity. Encountering that miss, gonna get blocked from shooting him, and the Stalkers all get out of there alive. Well played.
Well played.
And the rest of the army for Rail is making its way down on the south side, trying to avoid those medevacs and make its way over to the third.
Yep, and he is, again, I like, could feel it in my loins. It looks like he's about to try a timing attack.
He has to, right? He's only sitting on 41 workers.
That's what I've been thinking for a while, but just time keeps on going.
A couple sentries here can provide those Guardian shields, be useful against the Marines, but the siege tank count is also, it's kind of skyrocketed like before. And this makes it really difficult to push into, and Rail's just gonna back up.
Yeah, you have to. And without Phoenix at his disposal, when it does come to fighting, he's gonna be fighting into those tanks. Which is not impossible. If the charge loss can get on top of them, or he can catch them moving and then trying to siege up, that kind of stuff, that's how you can win that fight. But at the same time, and what I like about tanks, is they're just like hedging your bet though, right? Because if they're in the right position, you cannot fight them. So it feels like you control your own destiny with that kind of tank number. It's up to you to make a mistake for them to get a favorable fight, but as long as you don't, you're in a favorable position. That's a pretty good spot for a StarCraft player.
All right, going back into more disruptor production over here, Rail is not really worrying about making too many more Colossus or even Immortals right now. I think he just made the 2 Colossus, 1 Immortal. Thinking about getting up his 4th base. Automaton's such a weird map because every single time I look at it, I'm like, you know, I don't really feel like they're that far away from each other. It's a really big, wide open area. It's surely going to be a shorter game. Every time it turns into a long game.
Yeah. It's got a big exposed main, so there's a lot of potential for attacks there, so it kind of naturally sets you up to be a little bit more defensive.
That's fair.
And then the expansions don't necessarily have to get closer to your opponent, but they kind of circle that concept, right? Like,
yeah,
Terran will expand at the southern side, the Protoss the northern side, but anywhere you go that's not straight towards your opponent is those bases, basically.
That's a fair point.
We got an update from Mark. It's raining. You can tell when some of these guys from Blizzard that moved in from out of country are becoming Californians. Like, oh my God, it's raining. Don't worry, it won't rain for the rest of the year. But here comes the tank push, Anchored again by a Thor. Not a big deal, it's just one.
Rail is kind of, unless he's going to try and intercept this from the backside, this is going to be sort of out of position.
Well, how out? Okay, good. He does pull back.
Siege siege up well in time. The rest of the bio is going to be able to easily cancel that base, though, just because even the rest of Rail's army is moving over to the main, maybe afraid of a drop, but it's actually not the case right now. We even got that one Thor mixed in again.
Yep. And here we go. Tank's fairly exposed behind this, but his fourth base will die, and Immortal, unfortunately, gets sacrificed to the Blood Gods. Here is that flank. They're going to spend their charge.
Wow, okay. That definitely not ideal. I think it was because there's also a drop in the main base, who's trying to react to that, pull his units around. But that was not ideal. That one siege tank, not only using the charge, but just giving uThermal a little bit more time to react and pull back his bio. This is a tough one for Rail to crack, and now he's going to be moving through a choke point of that ramp against this many siege tanks. The siege tank's on siege. The Phoenix sees that, but it sees it 3 seconds too late. And now everything is going to be able to get back in position.
A little bit of a goblin moment here too, and I get it. You know, Rail can't just A-move into this and hope to win. For me personally, against that many tanks, I feel like you have to counterattack. Or you have to force the Terran into a weird, you know, situation. DTs on top of tanks.
Oh, he's committing, but a lot of the South Army engages way before the North Army is ready. The Zealots do get in on top of those siege tanks. Disruptors getting a few shots off, and he is going to be able to clean up a majority of that army for uThermal.
A little bit of a weird choice from uThermal. He had the majority of his tanks on the northern side of the battle, and he kind of pulled the Bioforce to deal with the southern side, which allowed the charge lots to jump on top of those tanks and take that favorable fight. So uThermal keeps opting for this mass tank style, and it's done well for him, but it keeps feeling like it gets weird where he's like out of position one time and just loses.
Oh, command center not quite finished morphing into a planetary fortress. He doesn't have the SCVs there to back it up and repair it, so he ends up having to cancel at the last second. Stalker's going to be able to bring in the main base, and hey, you're talking about that siege tank production. Well, sniping off a couple of tech labs may not be the worst thing in the world for that.
It'd be good, but uThermal was safe. He left the tank back at home, so the damage is going to be fairly minimal, at least for now.
Oh, until there's a Zealot warp in, but now we end up seeing the Marines start to come forward. Still makes it a little bit difficult, and we end up seeing the army also trying to engage on the right-hand side at the exact same time. Disruptor shot's not getting a whole lot done. A lot of the siege tanks getting cleaned up, but with all the Zealots gone, now it's just Stalkers on their own, and that is not going to work.
And this fight turned on its head pretty darn quick for Rail. He's going to sit there a little bit, and he might lose the Colossus as well. As I say that.
And then you're like, oh, right, Colossus versus Marines. Oh.
Able to win that fight. Zealot's getting warped in the main, too. He's down a good 40 or 50 supply. The fight
Planetary's going to go down.
is looking okay-ish for Rail. I don't know how. There has to be a drop or something behind this. I have to find a way to blame Ravi.
No, this is...
He's at 68 supply, mate.
He's got 32 army supply. That's it. I think this is half of the army supply.
Yeah. Well, each Colossus is 24 supply, so...
Well, at this point, now uThermal has defended against the drop. He's pushed back the Warp Prism. I think we have a bunch of these like pylons ready to sit back and scout for drops, but it's not a drop. It's a full frontal attack right here. uThermal. I don't think he has any. I don't think that Rail has anything else left to buy time.
Just make Vikings, please. Just make any Vikings at all.
Those Colossus did some serious work versus Marines. That was a little disgusting to watch.
It's funny how in uThermal's head not making Vikings are. Like, I get it against Phoenix composition, but against this, no. With your siege tanks in particular, like, go ahead and blink forward and try to kill my Vikings. You ever seen 12 tanks shoot into Stalkers? Ugh.
Oh, already softens up those Zealots, gets in range of that third base. We do have a couple of Zealots trying to make a counterattack, and now we're going to be able to find a lot of the transfer, or the, I guess, the reinforcing Marines here.
They do. But uThermal's in a critical spot here. This is not like the maps before. That spot right there, you have to go around a bend and over some pretty significant space. You're taking so much damage while you do that. Here we go. Rail's going to try to jump on top of this, but that concave, those tanks, not today, Rail. GG is called out, and uThermal bumps and bruises his way to a first-place finish in the group. So it is the result we expected. It was a little bit closer, and you know, at the end of the day, he beats Goblin and he beats Rail, these are, and I'm not going to try to poo-poo this too much because, again, congrats to uThermal, but that's not your showtime. That's not some of these other guys are starting to kind of rise up as well. So hopefully uThermal kind of sharpens up. But also there were weird games in his defense. Colossus, Phoenix for a lot of this.
For pretty much every single game, yeah. Absolutely. Either way, though, congratulations to uThermal. Is going to be moving on to Group Stage 2. Rail, if you're a big fan of him, or if he's won you over with this sort of weird and somewhat unorthodox playstyle, then don't fear too much, because he's still going to be moving to that next match. He's going to be playing to see if he can make it out of the group still, as he has to beat Bly, and that's going to be, like you said, that rematch. He beat
Bly really hard, but this is the thing. Remember this, and I'm going to say this right now. Guys, start giving me credit for this. Bly's going to win this. Bly, this position where you knock someone in the lower and then they come back, it always happens. Right here, Bly beats
the group curse